Before Lagos woke, before the yellow buses filled the streets with their horns and shouts, Michael Adewale sat alone on his balcony. The city's skyline glittered in the distance, towers piercing the pale dawn sky. To the world, he was the king of concrete, the billionaire who built half the city. But inside the walls of his glass mansion, there was only silence. The hum of a ceiling fan could not drown the ache in his chest. Michael stared at 3 empty chairs on the balcony, chairs that once held laughter, his late wife, his triplets. He had everything a man could dream of. Luxury cars lined his garage. Bank alerts rolled in like ocean waves. His name opened doors before he even knocked. Everything, except someone to share it with. Women came like perfumes, sweet for a moment, fading with time. They smiled wide, spoke soft, but Michael could hear greed rustling behind every word. They weren't after his heart. They wanted his fortune. 48 years old, 12 years a widower. A man who once fought Lagos streets with bare hands now ruled them with glass and steel. Yet in that quiet dawn, he whispered to himself, if love still breathes in the city, it has learned to hide. Downstairs, the grand dining table stretched like a runway. On one end, Michael pushed food around his plate. On the other, his children, Daniel, David, and Diana, watched him, their hearts heavy. They were 25 now, young, bright, full of life. But nothing broke them like seeing their father's loneliness eat away at him day after day. That night, the siblings gathered in Diana's room. The Persian rug muffled their voices as they sat cross-legged, faces lit by the soft glow of a lamp. What if we find her for him? Daniel's voice cut the silence like a blade. Find who? Diana frowned. The woman, Daniel whispered. The one who loves him for him. David laughed bitterly. In Lagos, good luck. Every girl out there is chasing cars and credit alerts. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then we do something crazy. Diana narrowed her eyes. Like what? We strip all this away, Daniel said, sweeping his hand toward the glittering mansion beyond the window. We live like the poor. We find a woman who can love without knowing money exists. Diana stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You mean pretend to be broke? Daniel nodded slowly. Not just broke. Invisible. Like Dad once was. And so, the plan was born. The next morning, Lagos swallowed 3 children of wealth in rags. Gone were the designer clothes. Instead, old jeans, faded t-shirts, slippers that had seen better days. No chauffeur-driven SUVs. No glossy credit cards. Just Danfo buses, loud as chaos, packed with sweat and stories. For the first time, they tasted the city their father once fought through, the heat pressing like a second skin, the smell of roasted corn and exhaust fumes mixing in the air, the symphony of honks and curses on every street. And that's when Daniel saw her. It was Monday morning, under the cracked cross of St. Gregory's parish in Suralere. The church smelled of candle wax and old wood. Ruth, kneeling on the cold floor, whispering prayers for her bedridden mother. Her hair tied back, her dress faded but clean. In her hands, a torn hymn book, its edges frayed like the life she carried. Then Daniel saw something he couldn't forget. She placed her last 100 Nigerian nairas in the offering bowl, smiled at the sky, and whispered thanks for blessings that weren't even there yet. He had never seen wealth look like sacrifice. That night, he couldn't sleep. The city roared outside his window, but inside his heart, there was only silence and a name, Ruth. Over the next weeks, the triplets became shadows in her world. At the market, Daniel helped her carry a basket heavier than her frame. At the bus stop, he shielded her from rain with a torn newspaper. David appeared one evening with a hammer during a heavy storm, fixing the hole in her leaking roof without asking for payment. And Diana, she became her friend, sitting in a tiny tailor shop, pretending to be an apprentice, listening to Ruth's dreams spill like secrets. She dreamed of simple things. A better life for her mother. A classroom with books that weren't falling apart. Shoes without holes. But in Lagos, love is a dangerous game. Ruth's best friend saw the glances, the laughter, and warned her one night. Be careful, Ruth. In this city, smiles can be masks. Still, Ruth trusted Daniel. One rainy evening, under a rusted billboard, they shared roasted corn and quiet dreams. The air smelled of wet dust, and traffic lights blinked like tired eyes in the distance. Ruth spoke softly, almost to herself. I don't need riches. I just need a man who sees me. Daniel's throat tightened. He promised, one day, your mother will never lack medicine again. And then it all shattered. She overheard it at the pharmacy. Two strangers whispering loud enough for the world to hear. Those boys, they're Michael Adewale's children, the billionaires. Her heart froze. The faces she trusted, the hands that held hers, they were masks. Rich men playing poverty for fun. Every kindness now felt like a cruel joke. She walked home with tears burning her eyes, ignoring Daniel's desperate calls. That night, she sat by her mother's bed, gripping that torn hymn book like a lifeline, whispering, God, why does love always turn to lies? Days passed. Silence. Daniel went to the mansion, rage and guilt tearing through him. He told his father everything. The plan. The love. The mistake. Michael listened, silent as stone. Then he stood, voice calm but heavy. If she cannot trust me, then I will earn it. Not with money, but with truth. The next weeks, Lego saw a different Michael. No suit, no chauffeur. Just a man in simple clothes, walking streets he once ruled from a glass tower. He went to Ruth's school, not as a billionaire savior, but as Uncle Mike, the quiet volunteer who repaired broken desks and repainted walls. No one knew his name. No cameras, no noise. He planted flowers outside her classroom and watered them himself. Then came the day of reckoning. The school faced eviction. Ruth stood in the dusty yard, holding unpaid bills, eyes wet with fear. The landlord came sneering. You have 7 days, or the children learn under bridges. That's when Michael stepped forward. Calm, steady, carrying a folder. This school stays, he said, voice low. He signed the papers, right there. The land now belonged to the children. Gasps filled the air. Cameras flashed. Ruth turned, and there he was. Not Uncle Mike. Michael Adewale, the man behind the towers. But his eyes held no pride, no wealth, just a quiet truth. Later, Ruth sat alone in an empty classroom, tears falling on her torn hymn book. Michael walked in, holding a potted flower, the same one he planted weeks ago. He placed it on the desk, gently. It's yours now, he said. Why? Her voice cracked. Because love is not in gifts, Ruth. It's in staying when the lights go out. 6 months later, a wedding bell rang softly under that cracked church cross where she first prayed for hope. No gold, no paparazzi. Just two hearts that fought through lies to find truth. Ruth introduced Michael to her mother in a sunlit room, placing the old torn hymn book on the table, a reminder of prayers answered in ways she never imagined. Once, she prayed for bread. Today, she held a hand that would never let her go hungry again.